and welcome to the Cancer Journey podcast. I'm Alicia.
And I'm Shariann.
So, today we are talking about how do you possibly have fun when you're on a cancer journey? I mean, the experience of going through treatment alone is so exhausting, and so we want to talk about some more concrete ways on how to find joy because sometimes you're too tired to even think about that. So, before we get into that, let's get grounded, and Shariann's going to start first.
Okay. Grounding. Here we go. Physically, 4.25. Emotionally, 4.3. Spirit, 4.4. Hope, 4.6. And my word is, let's go.
She is activator. Yes, physically I am a 4.35, emotionally a 4.45, spirit is a 4.35, and hope is a 4.3. And my word is what? And I'm not going to explain any further.
Okay, we'll go with that.
All right.
So I heard you in the topic, and what's sticking in my mind is like, how do we find joy? But before I can even get to joy, what's coming up for me is how do I nourish me during a cancer journey? Because I think that sparks joy for me. And of course, it's going to be individual, absolutely. And when I say nourishment, I'm not talking about, wet, yummy food I want to eat, which is a thing because I love yummy food. But on a cancer journey, oftentimes side effects such as metallic taste buds or losing your sense of taste exist. So then it's like, okay, so it's not food that's yummy. So what else is yummy? And I go to allies. Like, what are my allies? Not who. So using your what, it's like, what are my allies? What are the things that nourish me from the inside? What are the things that feed my mind, feed my soul?
Yeah. I'm also like thinking about because obviously I myself have not been a patient on a cancer journey. I've been more on the caregiver side and I was quite young. But what I remember being young and being like, "Mom, can you play? Can you play with me?" And so I get that it's that when we're talking about allies as resources because those are the things that are going to lift you up, right? Those are the things that bring joy. Allies and joy kind of go hand in hand, but people take a lot of energy. And you're already in a space where you're feeling really depleted. Unless it's someone that you know that you can already be with who doesn't take a lot of energy, or what you really need to feel alive is to be with someone, maybe not necessarily interacting constantly, but like just being, like hold my hand in silence. Let's watch a movie or listen to music or something quietly. But that level of energy with the exhaustion is something that like clicks for me when I'm thinking about this, which is also why, in the beginning I'm like, some people are probably too exhausted to even think about that. They're just trying to get through the day. And so I'm thinking of like, not just what are easy things, but what is accessible, something that feels like it brings you joy, maybe even the feeling of satisfaction, maybe nourishment while you're on a cancer journey. So I'm curious what you leaned into along your cancer journeys.
Mm. There was one particular journey where the chemical, the so I was on cancer treatment, and then you get this boatload of medication that to counteract some of the side effects. So now all of a sudden you're not feeling like yourself. But I know me, and I not only am an activator, but I love to be creative, and I love to do things, create something which has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Couldn't deal with anything that was big or taxing, like a big project, like, oh, let's go paint the room. So what I did was I just did needlework. And it was because I was so drugged up that I really couldn't be with the TV. That was too much from a visual standpoint, but I could listen to it or I could listen to music. And what I could see was something that was close by and just at my pace. Sometimes when you're listening to a movie or TV, which I love movies, they're taking you on a trip. They're taking you on a ride. And so you're just kind of passively going through that. And so when you're kind of overwrought with the overwhelm of cancer. That's not yummy. That's not nourishing. So I was sitting there and just doing something with my hands and creating. That felt good. That felt nourishing and was very satisfying. It's like I did a piece. Okay, I can do a little piece later. Or I can just sit here and do that with gentle music playing in the background or perfect silence.
Yeah.
That's one of the things.
I actually love that your comment about movies because it feels like such an easy tool to just be like, oh, go watch a movie. But like the purpose of movies and TV shows is to elicit emotion. And so if you're not feeling so connected to your emotions or you're like, I'm already sad, I want something to take me out of that, well, any TV show or movie that is good is going to take you on some sort of emotional journey. There has to be a dip and there has to be a rise. Like that's just how movies are created. There has to be a problem. There has to be something that is wrong to be solved in a movie. So I can see how that kind of doesn't always work for you on a cancer journey when you're just trying to be like, I need something else. I need some joy. I love that you're talking about music in the background as well, and some people who are really connected with music. I could see, especially if you're very musically inclined, you love an instrument, you want to revisit that. It gives you solace. I think there's something about the vibration of music when you're actively creating it too that can be so therapeutic, kind of like working with your hands, doing needlepoint. Or I remember you mentioned recently that you were like doing that like hook loop thing with rugs, like making your own little rug. And I think that if there are crafts and creative things that you can do that you already are familiar with, it's probably better in this state rather than trying to learn something new because there is a learning curve with learning new things and there is frustration and sometimes it's like it's not worth it to even start because I don't want to be frustrated through the process. So I mean, I think I would recommend something that feels familiar. If you have the attention to read a book, and like you can feel like you can focus and be in it. I think a book could be a really great experience. Again, it's going to be an emotional journey, but could be one that is worthwhile for you, and it feels that can feel nourishing for a lot of people too, especially if you like to learn and you like to kind of absorb or be taken along that ride, and you feel like you have a little more autonomy in it rather than like I could see how a movie or a TV show is overstimulating, right? It's the visual. It's almost like I don't feel this way, but some people feel like I have to stay awake to watch this movie. I'm really tired. It's halfway through, but I have to know what happens. I have to get to the end. We think that movies are easy, and sometimes they are, but sometimes they're not. There's like a lot happening emotionally. You're feeling it. Like when you're reading a book, you can pace it yourself, right? If you're getting to a particular emotional part, you can slow down, you can close the book, you can come back to it later, you can take a nap. There are so many little things, but I feel like what I'm keying in on here is really feeling familiar and things that you know have brought you joy in the past that could bring you joy now. What else do you feel like you explored when you were on a cancer journey? One of your cancer
Mm.
journeys.
Well, I do want to say that there is some distinction. So I was talking about the what, and there is sometimes there's who. It's like who will make me feel more joyful or nourish me. And one of the big ones for me, of course, are fur babies. I mean, just sitting there and petting and having them because they're just pure love. They just want to be loved and they want to love you, and you of course feel love for them. So that was another easy, joyful thing. Watching them run around and play, that's joyful. If I take that even further, it's like kids and their giggles. That's oh my goodness, to just hear the giggles of kids who are in the moment and having so much fun can create giggles in us. I know
Yeah.
I've experienced a lot of patients that have said, "Oh, watch comedy or I watch a stand up," and trying to get those good endorphins from the laughter can help. I am a real beauty type, so I want to see beauty and nature, the beauty and the spectacularness of nature. Now, let me even say, watching a spider on the spider web may not seem like an interesting thing for somebody, but when you don't have any energy and you're looking just from a curious lens, and it's like, what's that? I am actually fascinated by how that spider is casting its or building its web. That is fascinating. And having maybe the attention span, but the time to actually explore that, because in everyday life, it's going too fast. So it's those little moments in a cancer journey that you're afforded because you can't do. There's no heavy lifting. It's just, I just want to sit here and witness some piece of beauty.
Yeah. I what I also get from that is while day to day that might feel like such a small moment when you're on a cancer journey and like you are really faced with your mortality. Like you're thinking about that a lot. You're much more aware of it. The little moments mean so much more. And so if you're really looking for joy, it's not out there. It's within you actually. You get to um it's kind of a gift to slow down and have that appreciation for something as seemingly small as a spider making its web or watching just being curious about like nature around you if you're able to access that, right? Like we don't necessarily want to watch a spider make a web in our own home, but if you're able to go look outside and like watch it do its thing like in a tree, a little it can be a little more um, joyful because you're getting to see it naturally happen. This is just what is given to us. Some people might not even have the energy to go out in nature and do that. And there are things that like it's the familiarity and knowing what's here. It's like things that bring you joy. What's coming to mind concrete wise is like I know you're a fashion type, and I know that you love just beauty and a beauty type, and you love fashion and you like nature and things like that. But sometimes even getting out of bed to go outside or go somewhere where you can see it, a lot of people have joy at the ocean and the beach, and they feel so far from it, right? So sometimes it is the visual, kind of like a Yule log. Like you can just stream things on YouTube and just be with it and have it in your space. And that way, I know it's not the same as like the smell of the ocean and the breeze and those sensory things, but it does give you at least a bit the visual. Another thought I had was like for the more fashion stuff is almost like collaging, being surrounded by a bunch of different magazines and just flipping through it for anything that sparks joy for you. Cut it out and put it on a board or put it in a notebook and just have this collection of things that you like, you know? It's this much slower time when you're recovering from treatment and you're just too exhausted to do anything. I mean, I think journaling kind of sometimes is overseated, right? Like we're always just like, oh, do you journal? Journal, journal. But this also gets to be a moment where it journaling lets your inner voice matter a little bit more for you, and it is a much slower process than typing, and it's much more thoughtful, but it's kind of like when you're in school studying and they say to write things down because you remember it better, there's just that deep connection there. And so if it's like, ah, journaling, you could journal about joy, and let yourself, that could be a great prompt because you don't have to think really, really hard about what am I going to write about? I think a lot of people get stuck with journaling and what do I even write about? They get with their pen and paper, I'm going to journal. Oh gosh, mind blank. I don't know what to put there. Just write down things that bring you joy in any way that they come out. Write a paragraph of nonsense, write a list, draw pictures. They're like, it's little things like that that get you to slow down and appreciate those moments that matter to you, that you get to still pick up and enjoy memories that you can jot down. There feels like actually so much richness as we're talking about this in all of the things that can bring you joy. But because, and now I'm remembering our episode with our coach Leslie, is like when she's talking about how, and something that we almost don't want to say, it feels like toxic positive not to say, but like when cancer's in the room, we assume that everything's going to be miserable. And so because we already have that assumption that everything's going to be miserable, we almost don't even let ourselves think of joy, period. How could I possibly have that? I'm too tired. There's joy within you. You know what joy is. What is joy for you?
That's bringing up for me. I remember being in treatment, and you can either have, well, oftentimes treatment's done in a big treatment room. So there are other people there. And I remember seeing this woman, and I'm there in my sweats, literally sweatshirt, sweatpants, tennis shoe, like had no energy to do any of that external aesthetic. And I sat there and I looked at her and I noticed that her hair was done. She took care in what she picked. She looked nice. And I said, wow, you really look great today. And she goes, I do this for me. Because when I feel like I'm caring for me, I feel good. And it changed the perspective for me. It's like, I could do that. So I tried, and it could be as simple as I wore a pretty scarf or a pin or a necklace, but something that was just for me that made me feel pretty or cute or a little bit of me.
Yeah. And which can be so joyful, right? Because sometimes the exterior, even though sometimes it's framed in a way of like, oh, you're doing that for attention, or you're doing that for this and that, or it feels unnecessary. It's like we don't have to do things because they're necessary. We can do things just because they make us happy and they bring us joy. What I was gonna say is that it's funny because you brought this up a few times before, um, and it's so clear that it's for me that it sticks with you and that this is something you think about a lot. Probably when you're getting dressed or when you look at your closet and you're choosing something, it's kind of like, well, what brings me joy? I mean, it could be a pair of sweatpants that you're like, I can comfortably sit in this for a long period of time. That could bring you joy, or it could be like you want to do your makeup that day in a certain way that's like, I feel pretty and it makes me happy. I mean, there are tons of studies done that it's like when there are people who feel good about what they look like, you act different. One day
Hmm.
you wear no makeup, one day you do wear makeup, you just feel better. You feel better about yourself. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. There's nothing wrong with that.
I love that you're reminded it's not for anybody else. And I do. When I get up in the morning, I'm like, who wants to be on me? And it is just me. It's like once I know I feel good, I'm going to show up feeling good, mostly. And if I don't, I can throw on the gray sweats. And yes, I have gray sweats. That's very blah and will reflect my mood, but that's okay.
Right.
That's okay.
I mean, and for me personally, I love my gray sweats. To me, they don't even feel like blah. They feel like I chose this today. Like this was my choice. And we all have things that for us personally spark joy that will not spark joy for other people, which is totally fine. I feel like Marie Kondo saying,
I
if it
know.
sparks joy,
But well, let's just riff on that for a moment because it is a concept that is right on. If it doesn't spark joy in you, why is it in your closet? I'm talking about clothes. But if it doesn't spark joy, why is it even in your ether, your house, your environment? If it doesn't spark joy, why are you doing it?
right, right. What's landing for me with the sparking joy is that it's going to be different for everyone. And that, I mean, sure, there are some things out of necessity, but they can still bring joy. We were just at the museum store the other day, and just, they have things that are practical, but they're silly, and that to me can spark joy. It's like, those pasta spoons that have the slots in them. It was that, but it was in the shape of like a monstera leaf. Like that's just joyful. I mean, not it's not for everyone, obviously, but there can be little things that spark joy. You don't have to be a certain way, and you get to still explore what that joy is for you. And when you're on a cancer journey and it feels like the world's a little bit more narrow, it's like, okay, what am I doing every day that can be a little more joyful? Like a really easy one is getting dressed and putting on just something that makes you happy, or doing your hair because it makes you happy. It doesn't have to be all of the things. You can eat something not because I have to put food, like I have to eat something. You can choose something that's a little more fun for you, maybe something different, or like I'm making myself a coffee today and I'm going to make it a little special. I'm gonna put a little vanilla in it. Like that can spark joy for you. Or maybe you drink tea every day instead. Instead, I'm going to choose a specialty. I'm going to do just a little tiny bit more effort just to have the specialty. Or there's things that are actually so much more within reach when joy feels out of reach that
Right.
can really bring you alive in really small ways. It feels really small, and sometimes that's why people overlook it. It's like, oh, it doesn't matter. It's just the big things that matter. It's like, okay, the whole picture matters. The fact that you know that there are big things and little things means that they all matter. They're all part of the
Okay,
puzzle.
I've got my takeaway here. Permission. One of my favorite P words besides pause. Sometimes, oftentimes, cancer, just because of its devastation and everything that comes with it. We've talked about that over and over again. The fact that you think time is limited, permission becomes all about me. And so we're giving ourselves the privilege to do things that maybe are not acceptable because we think we're going to be judged. But what came into my mind while we were talking is our co-founder, Carrie, when she was diagnosed with cancer, we of course took her to get wigs. And so I took her to my wig place and I said, what do you want? Because when I went through various cancers, I had a blonde wig, a long hair, dark hair wig. I had short hair wigs. I had so many wigs because I could try change personas, but also it's like, what did I ever want my hair to be like? Let's do that. And permission to buy the wigs. Well, Carrie got one wig that was kind of a mimic of what she looked like before treatment started. And then she picked the pink one, bright pink in a bob. And she loved that wig. That I don't think she ever wore the wig that was reminiscent of what her hair looked like before she lost it. She just permission to wear the pink wig wherever she went. I don't think she's picked it up again, but it's like, I'm going to do this, and this is for no one but me. And that to me is joy. Okay. And my PESH because that just sparked like pink hair and seeing Carrie in my mind's eye. Physically, I'm a 4-4, um, emotionally 4-7. That just makes me smile. Spirit 4-7-5 and hope 4-7-5, and my word is smiley.
All right, my takeaway. Uh, I mean, my takeaway too is that sometimes it's play. A lot of times joy is just play and the exploration of that. I mean, I don't think we always get to feel like we can have that on a cancer journey. It's like we have to, okay, everything's straight laced and serious now. It's like, okay, but it doesn't have to be. I love the wig story. I mean, I love, like, I would love to go to a wig store now and, like, let's just try on a bunch of wigs. Because that's just fun. How often do you get to do that, really? And a lot of times, even though wigs are a lot more recognized in culture, like pop culture, but have been parts of other cultures for many, many, many years. But kind of the perspective that we go in with them is often like, can I wear this out every day? Does this suit me?
What are
Like,
people going to think?
right. Or like, do I even like this? Sometimes going and trying on all of these different wigs and having that exploration, it's not about any of that. It's like let's find the one that's gonna look the craziest on me. And like it doesn't have to be perfect. We're not looking for or it doesn't have to be finding the exact one because when you're just trying all these ones on, you're like, oh no, but look how funny. It's kind of like trying on wedding dresses and you're trying on like the old 80s ones and then like, the ones that maybe you'll actually consider, but it's playing with all those things. Okay, more of my takeaway is that there's so much joy in the little things, and when cancer slows you down, it's actually such a gift to see, okay, what will bring me joy throughout my day when I feel honestly really miserable and exhausted and just I don't want to do or feel anything. Maybe it's as simple as a color. That color really brings me joy. I'm going to surround myself with it. The world is a lot different now than when you were on your cancer journeys, and so there's a lot more access to things, and so sometimes that can feel overwhelming. But when we clarify what joy feels like to you, whether it's exploration or knowing for sure that something will bring you joy, it helps you get there faster. And a cancer journey coach will help you along the way to find that if you don't feel like you can do it alone. But there's so many things. So I would hope that anyone who is on their cancer journey is not limiting themselves as to what joy can look like. Physically, I am a 4.35. Emotionally, I am a 4.5. Spirit is a 4.35 and hope is a 4.35 and my word is laughter. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you try out maybe some of the things that we've mentioned to bring you joy, but at the end of the day, I really hope that you explore what joy means to you. So we'll see you next week for a new episode.
Have a lovely rest of your day, and remember, you're more powerful than you realize.